Hey, my name is Jordan. Welcome to my studio. Today it is hot. We are going through a heat wave here in SoCal, so I am just getting through it. But I was making art of my favorite sake bottles, and I was doing that for a pop-up I did at my local sake bar, Sake Secret. So I just thought I would give some insight into what goes through my head when I'm making art and show my process a bit. This was my practice one just so I could make an example and get the concept down on some paper. So I'm using Sumi ink to draw out a bottle and then adding some foliage in the background. And then I'm going to be putting the sake label block print on top. My goal is to make the bottle shapes kind of funky and lopsided because I think imperfection is super interesting when the subject matter is so simple. Plus, the stamps are very precise and as close to the label artwork as I could get. I really like the juxtaposition of something a little loose and abstract with something tight and precise. I was also very inspired by traditional Japanese ink paintings, obviously. I have seen so many old scrolls with ink paintings in museums and around Japan when I went, and I think what really inspires me the most about them is their simplicity. They try to use as little brushstrokes as possible to reach their goal, and it's so successful. They leave lots of blank space and let the marks that are there do their work. And this is why I'm really not adding many details to the sake bottles, and I'm trying to keep the backgrounds very minimal. I really want the Sumi ink to do its thing here without interfering. And I'm going to go back and add detail in the background on the foliage a little more, but I do want them all to dry first, so I'm just going through and making as many as I can in the moment to go back to later. So while I have some time to kill, I'm going to give you a little crash course about sake. Sake is a Japanese alcohol that often gets compared to wine, but really its brewing process is much more similar to beer. I'll try not to nerd out about it too much, but here is the most basic information. Sake is made from 4 ingredients: fermented rice, water, yeast, and koji mold. The 3 most common categories of sake are junmai, junmai ginjo, and junmai daiginjo. A sake is put into one of these categories depending on how much the rice grains were polished. A junmai is polished down to between 100% to 61% of its original mass. Junmai ginjo is polished between 60% to 51%, and a junmai daiginjo is polished from 50% and below. There are many nuances to these categories, but at their most basic, they are most influenced by the rice polishing ratio. They all taste very different from each other, with junmais being more earthy and umami, and ginjos and daiginjos are lighter and fruitier. Junmai daiginjos tend to be more expensive because you use more rice in the process because you're polishing down so much of it. So it takes more time and more materials and more effort. The alcohol percentage is typically between 14 to 17%, and sake is almost always best when it is fresh. But there are some really interesting aged sakes out there that have their merits. But personally, I think you have to be a whiskey fan to really enjoy the intense flavors of an aged sake, so I tend to stay away from those personally. My interest in sake sparked from my first trip to Japan in March of 2024, and as soon as we got back, we looked up sake bars near us. Sake Secret happened to be right down the street from us, and we've been going ever since for the past 2.5 years. We've become regulars. We have made friends here and learned so much about sake, and there's also a sake drinking festival that they put on every year. It's outdoors and there are booths for different sake breweries, and you go around with a small cup they provide and try as much as you can. It's so fun and definitely a highlight of the year. This year, I think it's on October 17th, and I am already hydrating. I will also be attending the San Francisco Sake Day Fest this year in September, and I am really excited to compare the 2 events. The SF Sake Day is indoors and it's at a hotel, but it is world famous and it may even be like the oldest sake festival in the world, or at least in the US. And this year, the tickets sold out within hours of being released, so I'm really looking forward to it. Anyways, I'll stop talking about sake so much. So now that the Sumi ink is dry, I'm just going to go in with my bamboo pen tool and dip that in the Sumi ink, and I'm just going to be adding some strokes to the foliage in the background to give some more definition. I don't use this tool nearly enough. It's so cool and it really gives some really interesting choppy lines. Like, it looks like it's a line from a stick, which it technically is. I especially like the difference between when you really load up the pen with a lot of ink versus when you've done a few strokes and it's dried out. You can get two really different strokes from the same tool. It's really fascinating. For the foliage in the background, I was using pictures from my last trip to Japan in November, so there'll be lots of like maple leaf inspired trees and also plum blossoms from my first trip I took there in 2024. The last step is adding the block print on top of the sake label, and I'm just going to put that right on top of the bottle. It's going to look a little funny because it's like bigger than the bottle, but I'm really like the way that it turned out on my example one, so I'm just going to keep going with that concept. I started off with the red ones, the octopus and the Kimoto challenge, because those were going to be the easiest ones. And I'm a huge fan of how these turned out. I just love the bright red against the dark lines, and I think it's just a great contrast. The next ones I did were the Boremoto Buddhas, and I mixed my own green here because I only have primary colors in block print ink. And this was my first time mixing my own color with that. I don't know why I thought it would be more difficult, but I think I got a great green from it, and I'm super stoked with how these turned out. It was a bit challenging fitting these two on a page together, but I actually think it turned out really nice, and I really like the look of them going off of the bottle as much as they do. And then I moved on to a headache, which was the Noble Arrow label, and this was difficult for me because I have never done a multicolor block print before, and I was really focused on getting that ombre in between the two colors, and the actual label has like a couple more colors on it, but I just had to simplify it because I could not figure out how to get 5 colors to look good on a block print. But after an hour of trial and error, I was able to figure out how to mix and place the orange and blue on a palette next to each other and roll it out enough so that I could get 2 stamps worth of ink. And I did not even bother with trying to use the roller for the text beneath the Noble Arrow text. I just used like a small stamp pad. That was my first time doing that, and I think it actually worked so well. So I'm definitely going to continue that method in the future. And I was just so happy with how the Noble Arrow ones turned out. That was like top 2 sake for me, and I really love the label, and I know the people that sell it, so I was really happy to be able to create a really good one from that. And I think that the colors just turned out beautifully with the ombre in between them. It's really nice. And lastly, I'm doing the Tsuge whale, the drunken whale, if you will. And this one was the easiest because it's literally just black ink, and it was so easy, and they turned out really nice. I actually made a post on Instagram the day before the event of all of them, and had somebody reach out to purchase one of these from me, so one of them didn't even make it to the event. But it was really nice, and I'm really happy to have sold one to somebody who loves sake so much. So I love how these all turned out. I was really impressed with them, and I'll probably use a similar concept in the future of like a mixed media approach to using block prints, because I love the block prints that I've been doing the past 2 months, but I'm definitely finding that I miss the unpredictability of using a brush or drawing something out. So I'm really into this idea of doing something on a piece of paper with paint or ink or whatever, and then doing a block print on top or in the middle somewhere to incorporate it. I'm really excited to keep going with that idea, so that's probably what I'm going to be working on in the upcoming month or whatever. And I'll just give you some specifics about the event and how I did. I thought my setup was great. I used those like plastic cubes for the first time to display the prints, and it went really well. I think it looked better than they ever have. This was technically for Downtown Long Beach Art and Design Walk, and this is an event where businesses in downtown Long Beach invite artists that they know to come pop up at their stores or their shops, their restaurants, and so Sake Secret reached out to me, and I was so stoked. So I did make this art for this event specifically, and I also made like sake trading cards with the same block print labels, because I love seeing those ACEOs on TikTok, but I don't really want to spend a lot of time making those. So this was just a fun way for me to use that idea. But anyways, this was for that event, and I've popped up here once before, just cause like a year ago, and I will say, like, I don't think this bar gets a ton of foot traffic. You kind of have to know that you want to go there, and you're going there to drink. So I found that people I didn't already know were not super interested in stopping and looking at my stuff, which is totally fine. I wasn't offended or anything. But it was really nice. I saw a lot of my sake friends there, and everybody bought something for me to support, and they loved my work. It was really kind of them. It's nice to have such great people around me and people that are supportive of me. And I made, I think, $175. I was there from 2 to 7, but I didn't pay for the event. I was just there hanging out. I was even drinking some sake. We were watching the World Cup on the projector, and we watched, sadly, Norway get beaten by England. I'm so upset. But anyways, I just had a great time, like, hanging out with everybody and talking about art, and it was amazing. So I have quite a bit left over. I did not sell even half of what I made. I think I made like 12. I probably sold 5. So I'm definitely going to be listing these, and I'm going to be having another pop-up next Friday at Fourth Fridays on 4th Street. So I'll be trying to sell them there as well. So anyways, thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me talk about art and sake. If you haven't tried sake, definitely see if there's a sake bar near you and go see what's up there. Have a flight, ask some questions. It's very good and fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So have a great day. Bye.